just lost it. I'll try.
Trying to find him on the list.
Cameron and Tara. Do you need the light turned down, or is it in the center?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting for Monday, May 14th. We'll begin with the land acknowledgement. The Hamilton Wentworth District School Board acknowledges our presence on ancestral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee Confederacy land as determined by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. The intent of this agreement is for all nations sharing this territory to do so responsibly, respectfully, and sustainably in perpetuity. We respect the long-standing relationships with the local Indigenous communities, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation, and the Six Nations of the Grand River. With that, we kindly ask that you stand for the singing of our national anthem. Thank you very much, and thank you to our Coots Paradise students. Just before we begin our meeting, a couple of quick acknowledgements before approval of the agenda. Of course, we thank trustees. Welcome. Welcome to Exec Council, members of our community that are joining us, staff, of course, members of the local media, and those watching at home. We appreciate you joining us this evening. Also, a couple quick notes. Trustee Patterson had informed me that he had the privilege of touring a former teacher and trustee around our board today, and that is Paul Bennett, who joins us. Welcome to the boardroom, Paul. Thank you. I'm sure we can chat. You're out in the Nova Scotia area now, I hear, but all right. So welcome back to Ontario education. So with that, thank you, Paul. Also, we have, of course, it's number 4 on our agenda, but we have our incoming student trustees, Cameron Prozik, as well as Tara Resvan. I'm going to work on both of those names. But anyways, welcome to the boardroom, guys. Good to see you. And we heard a lot about you last week, and it's nice to see you in person, so thank you very much. And of course, we look forward to the item in a couple of moments. Other than that, we have regrets, I think, from student trustee High. Other than that, we have everyone else present. So with that, motion to approve the agenda, moved by trustee Hicks, seconded by trustee Pattison. Questions, comments? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll jump right into item number 4 with the assistance of our trustee officer, Heather Miller.
Great, thank you. Through the chair, it's my pleasure to introduce Tara Resvan, who's currently a grade 11 student at Ancaster High. Tara is described as a student who exhibits unwavering positivity and a natural ability to connect with her peers, is extremely insightful, analytical, and uses every day as an opportunity for learning and growing. When she was asked how she would work with staff and the Board of Trustees to ensure that all student voices were heard at the table, she stated that she would seek out multiple communication methods for students to share their ideas through, as she believes that approaching each situation differently is essential, as you cannot assume to effectively hear the voices of all students through the same means. Tara is considered by staff at Ancaster High to be a strong leader and an advocate for social justice, as well as being an inspired and mature young woman. Her school spirit and dedication to creating a positive school climate are unparalleled. It is my pleasure to welcome Tara to the boardroom tonight and ask that she come forward to recite her oath of office for student trustee.
I, Tara Resvan, have been elected by my peers to represent the elementary and secondary students of Hamilton Wentworth District School Board, do solemnly declare that I will truly, impartially, and to the best of my ability execute the office of Student Trustee. I will respect the rules, policies, and conduct of this board, including maintaining the confidentiality of the board with regards to matters that are dealt with in closed session. I will represent students to the best of my ability and will present the best interests of students for the benefit of the board, and I will serve as an advocate and representative of the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board at all times.
Thank you. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Cameron Prozik, who's currently a grade 10 student at Sir John A. Macdonald. Cameron is described as a student whom educators tend to always remember. He has distinguished himself as someone with innate leadership qualities and a sincere interest in school involvement. When asked what student voice in education meant to him, he described it as one of the most important aspects of education. He stated that a school or board that does not listen to student voice is like a business that doesn't listen to their customers. It just doesn't work. Cameron is a respected member of his school community, bringing insight that is student-focused, forward-thinking, at the same time being sensitive and aware of the needs of the system. It is my pleasure to welcome Cameron to the boardroom tonight and ask that he come forward to recite his oath of office for student trustee.
I, Cameron Prozik, having been elected by my peers to represent the elementary and secondary students of the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board, do solemnly declare that I will truly, impartially, and to the best of my ability execute the office of student trustee. I will respect the rules, policies, and conduct of this board, including maintaining the confidentiality of the board with regards to the matters that are dealt with in closed session. I will represent students to the best of my ability, and I will present the best interests of students for the benefit of the board, and I will serve as an advocate and representative of the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board at all times.
That concludes our swearing-in process.
Thank you very much, Heather, for the introductions and the swearing in. Of course, to Cameron and Tara, we're really excited once again to meet you. And as you begin, I guess officially as of August 1st, if I recall correctly, you obviously have some pretty big shoes to fill with our current trustees and their predecessors. So we look forward to your work, and the only bit of advice I think we can tell you at this point, and we'll repeat a number of times, will be don't be shy, ask questions, and use all of the leverage that you have available to you, because as student trustees, we ensure that you are treated like each of us around this table, which hopefully is a good thing. So once again, congratulations, and we look forward to working with you. So next, item number 5, declarations of conflict of interest. Any conflicts to declare on the public agenda? Seeing none. Confirmation of the minutes, both April 9th, April 30th. Questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll move to our reports from trustee special committees. Item 7 is our program committee report from April 23rd. We'll begin with the chair of the committee, Trustee Dawn Danko.
Thank you. And through the chair, I'm happy to bring forward the committee report for program committee from April 23rd. At this meeting, we did have 2 delegations, one from the Nikola Tesla Educational Corporation, a charitable organization that is interested in providing resources to students at the board. And we also heard from an amazing student, Michael Wolf, about his involvement in the Bay Area Science and Engineering Fair. We do have an action item related to those delegations. On the motion of Larry Pattison, the program committee recommends that the delegations be referred to staff for review under our partnership policies. We also had a number of monitoring items. We did hear back about the Ontario Student, Parent, and Educator Survey. That is something that trustees at the table here had referred to program for further discussion. We did review the results of the survey, and really that was a province-wide survey, and questions were developed by the OSTA. Thank you. And we were interested in hearing what information we can collect locally. So we do have the spring 2017 spring 2018 HWDSB student survey that's currently ongoing, and we will receive local data from our students in the fall of 2018. There was no other action items coming out of that information. The next part of our meeting was the partnership report, and so staff reported the partnership report. They gave us information about what happened in May to August in 2017. I'll just briefly summarize a couple of things. It's fairly comprehensively written out in the report. So we know that last summer, corporate communications was consolidated with partnerships and community engagement, and they formed the Communications and Community Engagement Department, and that was to further support partnerships at the board, and they have a work plan that they're working through this year. We also have the parent portal. That's a tool that we use to increase parent awareness about what their child is learning in the classroom, and that was open to all secondary schools during 2016 and 17. Staff have been monitoring the impact of the parent portal through the parent voice survey that's happening right now and is open until May for this year. Our staff are also looking to support and ensure all new and existing community partnerships will enhance opportunities for students. So staff have been working to clarify the definition of partnerships, and they did create a single engagement intake form, and that allows us to have consistency when reviewing and aligning partnership opportunities. Along with that, they created the PACE database, the Partnership and Community Engagement Database. So that was started last summer, and you'll see later in the report it indicates that they plan to have all of the initial data that we have available to us populated by the end of August of this summer. That's quite an extensive process. They did demonstrate the database for us, and then we'll have a maintenance strategy to make sure that we're keeping the database up to date. We also heard about the current implementation of the 2017-18 annual plan for partnerships to date this year. So we do have the revised parent voice survey. It was revised so that we can better understand areas of strength and areas needing improvement. And we're trying to increase parent engagement, so please encourage parents to fill out the survey that is open until the end of May. And there's work that's been done to support school councils in engaging parents. We've had school startup sessions run by PIC. We have HWDSB email addresses provided to school councils to help facilitate communication with parents. And there is also a section about parent engagement in what children are learning in school in the school annual plan. And we're hoping that increases dialogue between school council and the school so that they can then relay to parents, how are we communicating to parents what's happening in the classroom. Also during 2017 and 18, we had 5 schools pilot the Safe Arrival program, and so that will help report child absences. And staff will be doing a review of the pilot this August. We've also taken parent feedback from the parent portal, and we've streamlined the access to that through Power School, and we had a demonstration at the meeting. We have our strategic communications and engagement plan that is being worked on right now that will support partnerships. And there's an ad hoc committee. I believe Trustee White and Trustee Bingham are on that committee. So trustees will see a finalized plan when that is ready. And we also, and this was a big report, we're told about strategies that staff are using to focus on families and community partnerships to support our high priority schools. So things like expanding before and after school care programming, Imagination Library program that's supported by the foundation, revising the summer learning camp Power to align with reading goals, and working with public health to develop a new model for the public health nurse in schools that will provide more targeted services and a visible presence in schools with higher needs. We also have work being done by the superintendents where they're using a rubric to look at characteristics in school conditions so that they can understand what are some of the differences between our high priority schools and schools that are not flagged as high priority. And that will help us understand how we can better support students in those schools. Well, there's data collection happening this spring, and they will, of course, relate that to our partnerships as well. And I think I've already talked about the database. The staff did indicate they're on target to increase equity of access in community partnerships, supporting our 2 priorities of student learning and achievement and positive culture and well-being by June 2018. And there will be a monitoring report on all of this in the fall. You are welcome to join the meeting. It's always fun and always lengthy. So with that, I'd like to move the report.
Thank you very much, Trustee Danko. That was good. Do we have a seconder for the report? Seconded by Trustee Bingham. Thank you very much. There's a lot of content here. Any questions or comments on the monitoring items or the delegation? Student Trustee Jail.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a comment about how seriously this board took our bringing forward of the OSPES survey. Trustee High and myself really appreciate that. The fact that it got through to committee and that it's going to be compared to the student survey later on is really hopeful for us. And we're looking forward to, I'm sure our incomings are as well, to hearing how those two end up comparing when that data comes in. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Danko?
I'll just mention that while our student survey is not identical to the questions that are asked in this survey, I do think it's important to understand the local context and how our students feel about similar issues.
Thank you very much. Further questions? Brilliant job, Trustee Danko. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Moving to our next report, item 8, Finance and Facilities from May 2nd. Chair of the Committee, Trustee Van Geffen.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, it's my pleasure to bring forward the committee report from May the 2nd. There are no action items on this report. There wasn't staff was seeking direction with regards to the first monitoring item, the long-term facility master plan guiding principles. For information for the trustees, staff brought forward the guiding principles that we have within our long-term facility master plan. Given some of our previous discussions, trustees will recall that our long-term facility master plan is getting a makeover this year. The intent is to align it with some of the work that we've done over the last 3 years, our strategic directions, our capital plan. So with that, as we looked at our guiding principles, I was pleased that staff wanted to bring that back because our guiding principles that were in our long-term facility master plan previously were dated to documents that, for example, were 10 years old. So you don't see in the guiding principles that weren't moved at this meeting. They were moved a week later at the May 9th meeting. They're not drastically being changed, but they're being updated to align with a lot of the work that we've done. This particular item at this May 2nd meeting took on quite a long discussion, which was good. That was discussion that was driven by some of our experiences over the last 3 years when we went through our accommodation reviews and feedback that we've received from the communities that help to guide us as we go through, if you look at the report, go through the 9, I believe now 8 guiding principles that we use through this rather large document. So I'll leave it at that, knowing that when I bring the next report for May the 9th, you will see the guiding principles moved at that meeting, and then you will also see the guiding principles along with the accommodation review schedule to which we have already moved as a board, ingrained into this document. And I guess in closing, I'll say to the long-term facility master plan is the intent here is to, in the past, we've printed off our long-term facilities master plan, and immediately as soon as you print it off, it becomes outdated. Well, the intent here and much of the work that staff have done, Ian Hopkins had done on this, is to make it a living document, something that refers to all of our plans and the outdoor design manuals and I'm forgetting the 2 manuals that we use for secondary and elementary design that are always being changed, always being tweaked. But with that, last year, we printed off 9 of these copies. Now it's available online and everyone has hyperlinks to be able to go. So this is a good piece. It's a great document as we continue to move forward. Second item on here is budget development. So we received an update from staff as technical papers have been received by the ministry. Not a huge update as we continue to progress through our budget development. What trustees need to know is that, so we have another meeting coming up on Wednesday, May the 16th. On May the 28th, there is we've called a special finance and facilities meeting that day. That's a Monday. We have a board meeting on that day. This special finance and facilities meeting is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. All trustees are welcome to come. This will technically, provided our feedback on Wednesday, this will hopefully play out to be the committee moving the budget, and should it be moved at the committee level, you will then see it as a board to come June the 11th. So don't let that stop you from coming out to this meeting. If you're like some other trustees around this table who like to show up early for board, we'll show up a couple hours early and you can engage in this discussion. So with that, through you, Mr. Chair, I will, no action items, I will move for this report to be received.
Thank you very much, Trustee Van Geffen. Do we have a seconder? Trustee Hicks, thank you. Questions, comments? Trustee Pattison.
Yeah, thank you, Chair White. I just have a quick question about the accommodation review schedule. Now, I'm told that's on hold. So are we just keeping the schedule as is in case the new rules are back in time to be able to continue with that schedule? Or?
Thank you. Trustee Van Geffen.
So what's been approved by the board and what we will see put within the long-term facility master plan is that we know we have 3 planning areas to address. We haven't put a date to those 3 planning areas. Correct me if I'm wrong here, West Mountain, East Mountain, and Dundas in terms of planning areas, given a provincial election on the horizon and the hold that the province puts to accommodation reviews right now. I think it's fair to say that we're in a holding pattern.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Pattison. Further questions, comments? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much, including Trustee Van Geffen. Yes, thank you. Item number 9, Special Education Advisory Committee, April 25th. We had Trustee Johnstone and I believe Trustee Deeth present. No? So Trustee Johnstone, you're up.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to bring this report of the April 25th meeting. Trustees will see that SEAC had an orientation. I actually wasn't present for that portion of the meeting, but I was there for the budget presentation. I do want to draw your attention to several items. For those of you who are not on finance and facilities, you will be pleased to note that special education was ranked #1 in our budget consultation, and as it usually is, but it's wonderful to see throughout the board each year that there's so much focus put onto that area. And some of the good news that came through as well, through the GSNs, we were awarded 16.5 FTE special education staff, which will be added. So that was welcome news. There's also funding announcements over the next 3 years. There would be support increased to special education programs and services to the amount of 9 FTEs. There was also funding announced for mental health workers in our schools for 3.5 FTE. That's a huge, it's a very significant category. I can't, I think, highlight that more, but just knowing the issues in our board and boards across Ontario, mental health being such a huge issue, it was really wonderful to see the government in the ministry recognize the need to put investments into mental health and to see that being realized locally here. As well as at the time that we didn't have an exact amount, but funding was also going to come to us with regards to support for education assessments to address our current wait lists. So all of that is very exciting. And at the end of this report, I probably will ask to direct this over to the superintendent just to provide some more context. As the funding piece is very exciting. In other updates, I will just highlight around FASD incident study, which found that there was in Canada, we had incidence of 3%, which is higher than all other neurological disorders. FASD Awareness Day took place April 11th at Queen's Park. There was amendment that was brought forward, Bill 44. It did receive first reading, but unfortunately the government was dissolved, so it did not proceed further. But hopefully when the new government is established, because it did have all party support, that we'll see that come back and see that actually get implemented. So that is my report, Mr. Chair. And I'm not sure if perhaps the superintendent would want to provide a little bit more context around Part B.
Thank you very much. We'll turn it over briefly. Manny, you have the best seat in the house, by the way. Close the blinds, but the one crack hits you. You're glowing. Anyways, not to ruin the train of thought, Superintendent Peggy Blair, do you have just some info to add, as Trustee Johnstone mentioned?
Thank you. And through the chair, we are happy to announce that the 16.5 FTE that's noted here is a combination of support staff and teaching staff. And the 9.0 positions, we're still currently in the process of selecting what those positions will be and working with our partners on what that will be. And I will hand over around the mental health workers to my colleague beside me.
Thank you, and through the chair, echo the trustees' comments. We are very excited to see the 3.5 FTE being added in to support mental health workers. It's specifically targeted for secondary schools, and we are currently finalizing our work around that piece to determine roles and deployment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Trustee Johnstone, as well. Questions, or rather, you're moving it. Do we have a seconder? Trustee Deeth, thank you. Questions or comments? See none. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Reports from staff. We have our standing item every year, our board meeting dates for 2018-19, and we'll turn it over to the trustee officer, Heather Miller.
Thank you, and through the chair, as you stated, every year we ask the board to approve the schedule for September of 2018 to June 2019. Attached in the appendix are the dates that are listed for September through June, following the same pattern that we used the back half of this year. So the Monday nights and committee meetings will be scheduled in and around the non-Monday nights that are being used for board meeting and Monday nights that are not being used for board meetings.
Thank you very much. And this is an action item, keeping in mind that it can be adjusted as necessary with proper timelines by the chair of the board. Do we have a mover, seconder? Trustee Beattie, Trustee Pattison, thank you very much. Questions or comments on the tentative dates for next year? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. We move now to item 11, resolution into committee of the whole private session as per Education Act 2072B. We have a motion to move in camera. Moved by Trustee Beattie, seconded by Trustee Deeth. Thank you very much. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. And we'll move to the side room, which hopefully is cooler than in here. And we'll be back in public session momentarily.
No.
Is that what happened today?
No. No, that wasn't you.
Yeah, that was Judith. Okay, folks, we're back in public session. Item number 12, report from Committee of the Whole, private session. We'll ask the Vice Chair to read the report from the verbal report from just a moment ago.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, it is my pleasure to present the report of the private session of the Committee of the Whole held earlier this evening, that the Finance and Facilities Committee report from May 2nd, 2018 be approved, including a legal matter, as well as entering into phase 1 of the property disposition process is governed by the Ontario Regulation 444/98 in regards to Linden Park School.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. You're moving the verbal report. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Trustee Van Geffen. Questions, comments? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll move now to item 13, oral reports from liaison committees. We'll begin with item A, City School Board Liaison Committee. As a member on that committee, I'm happy to report that we did meet back on March 22nd. Brief overview is that we continue we continue as a standing item to discuss new school construction. So as you know, we have 7 elementary schools, 2 secondary schools, and 2 additions, totaling 11 major projects ongoing with our board. A lot of those projects, especially the ones that do not have site plan approval, rely heavily on city approvals. So we keep this item as a standing item to ensure that we are tracking the items so they do not linger unnecessarily. So that was a standing item that we discussed. We also discussed there, as well as at our finance meeting last week, that we do expect to break ground on 5 of those 11 projects sometime this calendar year. So there's a lot to look forward to in terms of implementation and working on those projects and using the ministry funding. The next item we spoke about, another standing item, and that is the status of City of Hamilton and HWDSB property facility agreements. And essentially, this is a long-standing item where we're looking at every single partnership or shared use agreement with the City of Hamilton. It could be as minor as sidewalk, snow maintenance, to building a school on city property or a city rec center on board property. And there are hundreds on this list. And traditionally, they've been kind of one of the handshake type deals that have been unwritten, for many, many decades. This is an effort to clearly document each and every agreement that we have. And at this point, I think it was reported to us that staff are about half done, all of the projects, but they're tracking the remaining. And then hopefully over the next year, everything else will fall into place. So there'll be further updates on that item. And of course, when it is complete, definitely we'll be circulating that, because it will be an easy guide, school by school or area by area, what agreements we do have. And you'll be surprised to know what exists, because a lot of it is unknown to most individuals. The third item was the parent and family literacy centers and the early on programs. So as we know, the province has changed the model for early year centers that are managed by the City of Hamilton, as well as parent and family literacy centers, which are delivered through schools. They've merged them now to early on, I believe is the new name, programs. We received an update because I think earlier through Superintendent Sharon Stefanian, we were told that the city would reduce the amount of centers into more central, larger centers, perhaps somewhere in the ballpark of 14 or 16 throughout the city. The city's moved a bit from that approach. It was good to hear at the committee that they are looking at kind of smaller sites, retaining them in significant areas, as well as having the larger condensed sites. So it's good to hear that our partnership and dialogue with the city has influenced some of those decisions. So those services can be continued to be offered in key geographical areas. But there will be a reduction, but not to the extent that I think was originally reported to us as a possibility. So more information on that can be shared by Sharon and her team. But it does look like a good news piece at this point. And I think that is starting this calendar year, so pretty soon through, I think, next year, the strategy will be complete, or at least take a number of steps forward. So you'll see a lot of that within our communities and possibly our schools as well, as they may continue to be delivered on our sites, as well as Catholic school board sites. And then lastly, there is a confidential item, not to report the details, but as we know at this board, there is conversation around community hub proposal at Lake Avenue School in the Riverdale neighborhood regarding a component of affordable housing, possibly above the rec center, the Dominic Agostino Rec Center. So those discussions continue, and that was an item that we could fill you in on in camera at the appropriate time. So with that, that is the general outline of the liaison committee meeting, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Trustee Hicks.
Sorry I missed the last meeting, but with the partnership, will it include the partnerships between trustee and counselor for their area? The example would be McNabb, a football field, and a track. Would that be included in the information that they're collecting between partnerships between the city and the board?
And I think simply yes, and that would be one of the larger partnerships.
Would the reciprocal agreements be included in that as well, the sharing of pools and gymnasiums?
Absolutely.
And about maintenance, would that be included, such as your grass cutting and so forth?
You got it.
Terrific. My last question would be, would there be a financial amount beside the partnership so that we can find out if it's fair or not fair?
So I think to that last part, the answer would be no. I don't think we're going to come up with an exact dollar figure, so to speak. But looking at how it's developing right now, there's no doubt that there's significant cost savings for each organization. So as long as it remains roughly balanced, I think both organizations are extremely happy.
Great.
But we can see that when it all comes together. Great. Thanks, Trustee Hicks. Trustee Deeth and then Trustee Van Geffen.
Just a quick question. And I know that the city had identified Waterdown as putting a pool out in that area, and they were looking at potential sites. So I'm just wondering if anything more had come up about, in regards to any sites that they had looked at.
So, and I do recall you raising that probably a year ago or so. I don't know the answer. Associate Director Zucker, are you aware of those discussions, or is that something that Trustee Deeth could be receive later on?
Yeah, through the chair. Dave Anderson's not here, so I would, Senior Manager's Officer, Dave Anderson's not well tonight, but we can take that away. And I don't know of any conversations he's had, but we'll update him and then follow up with you through the chair.
Thank you, Trustee Deeth. Trustee Van Geffen.
Thank you. Just two comments. So I sat at this meeting. First thing is, so we had good student representation at this meeting, and one was is going to be our student trustee Cameron from SGEM was at this meeting. Asked great questions with regards to the early on program, but also at the time the budget had just come out from the province, and there was some mental health questions and plugs that he made. So that's good for us as a board as we move into next year with Cameron sitting around the table. I wanted to mention that at this meeting that the update here on discussion items of new school construction and to the piece that our chair had said, this became quite a large discussion at this meeting. And I would say this to other trustees: if you have the ability to be able to make it out to these meetings, and you know you have capital projects happening, of those 5 projects, shovels waiting to get in the ground, when between the mayor and the councillors that were present, they are keen to know of these projects and know more details on these projects. And I say this, at the time, Councillor Partridge was out at this meeting, and she had just been a few nights before at the Beverly Community Center for a public information session that happened with regards to that new school. This meeting, and I'd like to think this meeting probably drove an announcement that happened out at Greensville last week. This was out in front. There's a sign of a new school to be constructed, and speaking to the partnership between the city, the school board, and the public library, the child care center that's going in there as well. So our chair is out there, and I'm out there, and Ray Mulholland came all the way out to this meeting. But at the meeting, we expected Councillor Pasuda as the local councillor to be there. You had two other councillors in Councillor Partridge, Councillor Vanderbeek, but the mayor also came out there. Ted McMeekin as MPP also came out there. Paul Takala as the chief librarian for the Hamilton Public Libraries came out there. And you had all the, I don't even think we had enough room under the sign to take the picture. But my point is that we know we have a lot going on. We have a very receptive ear with the city, and these kind of meetings or even public information sessions like the one that's going to happen next Thursday on the 24th at the Spencer Valley School at 6 p.m. I encourage all of you to come out. That is one that councillors and trustees, it makes a great opportunity to go out, talk about your project, and push as we continue to fight for site plan approvals and building permit approvals to get shovels in the ground and get our projects going. So my hat's off to staff at this meeting, between Manny and between Dave Anderson at this meeting, and through the direction of Todd. It really was a great update to all city staff and elected officials that were present.
Thank you very much, Trustee Van Geffen. And on that note, a good segue, the next City Board Liaison Committee meeting is May 23rd, 1 o'clock at City Hall. So look for that in your calendar, as I regularly give you the wrong information on that. But seeing as I haven't been kicked by Heather, I actually think I got that right. Oh, it might be here. So there you go. I spoke too soon. May 23rd, 1 o'clock, somewhere to be announced. So with that, any final questions? See none? Okay. We'll move to item 13B, Hamilton Wentworth Home and School Associations. Trustee Pattison.
Thank you, Chair White. And I'm usually pretty brief in these updates, but if you can bear with me for a few moments, I wanted to make a pretty exciting announcement regarding the Home and School Association. So I wanted to let everybody know that Angela Murchie, who many of you might know through your workings on the board, has won Colonel R.S. McLaughlin Memorial Award. So this award is presented to an individual who has demonstrated outstanding service to education by fostering cooperation between parents and teachers, and by promoting understanding between the home and school. This award is meant for home and school members who have made a significant contribution to the Federation at the provincial level. The nominees must be serving or have served a full term on a minimum of 2 of either the Home and School Association Executive and the Home and School Council Executive, a regional board executive, or the OFSFA Board of Directors is either an executive or on a Board of Directors committee. This award was named after Colonel R.S. McLaughlin Memorial Award to recognize an endowment from the McLaughlin family, as Mrs. McLaughlin served the Ontario Federation of Home and School Association for many years, including as a parent from 1931 to 1936. And so the Adelaide Home and School Association wanted to express that they're very proud of her and her hard work over the years, and that this award will come as a surprise to her when presented at the OSFA conference back in April. So having worked with Angela closely over the past few years as trustee on the Home and School Liaison Committee, it's very apparent that Angela is a very dedicated and passionate advocate for our students and their families. I can see how they step up, her and all the home and school team leads step up when new associations are brought to light, like Prince of Wales in my community started a home and school last year. And just the support that they bring to these new associations as they start up is inspiring, just to see that collaboration and participation. So I just want to say congratulations to Angela and thank her for everything that she has done for our communities.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Trustee Pattison. I know we've had a good history and success of our past and current home and school presidents here in Hamilton moving on and getting recognition province-wide. So congrats to Angela, by all means. Do we have any questions or comments for Trustee Pattison? Thank you, Trustee Pattison. HWDSB Foundation, Trustee Danko.
Thank you. And through the chair, the foundation held prom project this year at both Delta Secondary School and at Hill Park, and they had close to 500 students come and pick out an outfit for their milestone event, whether that was grade 8 graduation or prom or another event. There was also 235 volunteers that contributed 819 volunteer hours, doing things like personal shoppers, hairstylists, makeup artists, and I think that's amazing as well. So we've really reached out to a lot of people in the community, and it was a very positive event. They did a survey as people left the event, and 91.39 were happy with the outfit they received at Prom Project, but also a lot of the feedback was very positive, that it was an excellent event and allowed people to have a wonderful experience. So thank you to all of the volunteers that helped to run the event, make it a success. The other thing that's happening with the foundation, we did the school support grant allocation in April, and that's where schools can apply for up to $1,000 grants for things that will enhance student experiences at the schools. So examples of projects that we've supported include sensory development rooms, dual language libraries, nutrition supports like the Kathy Weaver Lunch Brunch, Adelaide Art Gallery, SGM Slam Poetry Team, the Glenwood Laundry Work Area Revitalization. So we allocated about $22,000 for this school support grant allocation, and we do that twice a year. We also have student support grants, and those are requests that we've received through the year from the schools if they identify a student in need. And we just continue to receive those grant applications, and we expect to spend $25,000 by the end of June of this year. Otherwise, the foundation is undergoing a strategic direction or strategic planning session coming up to ensure that our board is aligned with the vision and the mission that we would like to see going forward. And the board has also been working with the Hamilton Community Foundation.
Thank you, Trustee Danko. Questions, Trustee Deeth?
Just wondering if you know how many outfits were donated to Prom Project.
Too many to count.
It's an incredible inventory of outfits. And of course, it's cumulative, so as we don't give them all out each year, the inventory builds. But I do know that there was one company that donated brand new suits for grade 8 grads. They had incredible opportunities for people to find the outfit that they were looking for.
Any final questions? Seeing none. Last but not least, Ontario Public School Boards Association, to our director, Trustee Johnstone.
Thank you. Through the chair, so I'll make this quick. So our last meeting was actually a joint program and policy work team, and I sit on a program that was this past weekend. And so I'll just have a few highlights of what took place at that meeting. We had a discussion around Rowan's Law, which is, of course, around concussions, and I guess the merging of education and rec centers, pulling that policy in alignment between, I guess, both areas. And so we had a discussion about that, when it would be most appropriate to review or have officials who work with students and in recreation to review the regulation. We also had a discussion around the Ministry of Labor, Health and Safety, as there's been, I guess, a booklet created there, which has moved away from looking at, say, just tripping hazards, more towards training and tracking incidents that take place, as well as support. So we had a discussion on that topic, as, of course, violence in the workplace has been a huge topic within education, especially as of late. We also had a discussion around large-scale assessments such as EQAO. And finally, we had a presentation from Student Vote. And they actually had the numbers for HWDSB. So as of Saturday, 49 of our schools were registered to take part in Student Vote for this upcoming election. We want to see it 100%. There was a couple of our high schools that were not on the list. And of course, I left that list at home. But if you're interested to know if your high school or your elementary schools have registered, I'd be happy to connect with you, or I might take a photo of it and send it out. So 2 To superintendents as well as to trustees, encourage your schools to get registered. The deadline is this Friday, and they can go to studentvote.ca to get registered. And that way they can take place in the election. What the statistics show is that when students are taking part in student vote, two wonderful things happen. One, their parents are more likely to go vote because their kids are going home and they're having discussions, who are you going to vote for? What is your opinion on education? And so sparking those conversations. The second thing is that when students practice voting and they have that opportunity before they turn 18, it becomes a habit. So by the time they do turn 18, they're more likely to go and vote because they've had those mock experiences that are very realistic. They have the whole cover board so that no one can see how you're going to vote. And it's quite an exciting experience, and it's all free of charge as well. So I encourage your schools to get registered there. Finally, I will put a plug in. Our AGM is taking place in Niagara Falls, May 31st, June 1st and 2nd. If you're not registered, please do so, as well as CSBA is taking place in Halifax the first weekend of July. And again, lots of wonderful opportunities for professional development for trustees and, of course, to network and find out what people are doing across Ontario and across Canada. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. Any comments, questions? Student Trustee Jail.
Thank you. Through the chair, we've actually already brought the student vote back to Senate last time, and we're going to bring it again this week, so you'll be happy to hear that. And to both secondary and elementary, we've been stressing the importance of getting students to vote as well. And also the information about which schools are already signed up is available online. If you Google it, I think it's actually the second link. You can just browse through the school board, so it might be easier. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions, comments? Seeing none. Motion to adjourn, moved by, no? Oh, you had a question. No, adjournment, moved by Trustee Van Geffen, seconded by Trustee Deeth. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.